have several questions. One of the questions I have, relating off of what we talked about this morning, I really understand, as I understand it, the larger part of us is non-physical. The larger part of Esther is non-physical, and that's Abraham, of all of us.
The larger and the longer, the eternal part of you.
And the eternal part, okay. And I understand and I believe in that. It really makes sense to me. What I don't understand is then, what's me? Am I just like a radio?
You are an important co-creator. Maybe the best word that Esther has ever found when we try to answer this question is you are an extension of. So you are an important equal part. You are the part of that non-physical consciousness. And so it's like this. Part of you said, I'll stay here and remain pure positive energy. And I'll send an aspect of myself to explore the contrast in order to ask for more. So you're the part that gets into life, that observes it, that comes to your own conclusions about how it would be better, and then without even needing words radiates a vibration or a request, a rocket of desire, which assures the expansion of yourself and the universe at large. Your important function really is that you keep mixing it up so that you can ask for more. And then as you ask for more, then Source, who stands in that stable place, can guide you, but not because you're a puppet, but because you are a willing receiver, willing to receive the answer to the question that life caused you to ask.
I feel like a vessel. I've heard you say this several times with other people also. Is the thought mine or is the thought you? Am I just receiving those thoughts or am I thinking those thoughts?
It's a little tricky, isn't it? Because once you think a thought, the thought thinks. And then law of attraction responds to the thought. So all of us are more receivers of thought than we are thinkers of new thoughts, but we are modifiers of them. There's just a constant new experience. Even something as simple as moving the chair, no big deal. Chose what looked like a perfectly wonderful chair. It seemed to meet all of the qualifications until it didn't. And so then what's the next best decision from where I am? And what's the next best decision from where I am? And what's the next best decision from where I am? And so if you accept that you are an eternal being, and in order to be eternal, you must be expanding. And in order to be expanding, there must be contrast from which to cause you to ask for more. Then you can see how the two aspects of you just work so perfectly together. That's why we began today by saying you really have 2 points of attraction. There's this non-physical point of attraction that's calling everything that you really want to that aspect of you, and then there's you calling everything to you that you've got active in your experience, and your emotions are the blend that let you know how you're doing.
Well, and is it the non-physical that's giving me the urges to follow?
In this sense, yes. You in living life are asking for improvement, so you throw it over there. And then your inner being accepts the improvement, knows it, focuses on it, and bees it, and law of attraction responds to your inner being, who is now the vibrational liver of what you've asked for. When you realize that when you don't feel good, you're splitting yourself, and when you do feel good, you are coming home to yourself, you are allowing yourself. You said, I'll go and I'm willing to split off a little bit in order to know what could be better. And your inner being says, and I'll stay here because I'm not willing to split myself. And when you send something over, I'll focus upon it. We're making this very rudimentary, but it's pretty much this way. I'll focus upon it. I'll hold it in our collective vibration of absolute well-being. And if you now, creator out there on the leading edge, if you who caused this expansion don't come with it, you're not going to feel quite as good as if you do come with it. Further, since I stand here knowing everything you've asked for and knowing very clearly where you stand in your human form in relationship with everything that you've asked for, I'll hold the image so powerfully of you being there that if you tune in, you'll know what to do next and what to do next and what to do next and what to do next. It's sort of like, so you have an idea of this house you want to live in, and you meet with an architect and you say, well, I didn't like not having enough closets. I want plenty of closets. And I didn't like having upstairs, downstairs. I want to be on one level. And I didn't like a crowded kitchen. And so you give to the architect what you want, often by telling him what you didn't like about where you used to live or where you are living. So you give the intentions to the architect, and then the architect draws the plans. The architect draws out the plans, gathers the materials, and gathers the builder. But who created this anyway? Who's the creator of it? You are. You lived the life which caused you to do the asking, and then the architect brought it into some semblance of something that you could look at, where you could continue to adjust it if you wanted to. It's this vibrational becoming that we really want to call your attention to in answering your question, and then you tuning in so that you receive the impulse, so you have the satisfaction of getting to watch it come together.
I have one other question. I am kind of in a step 3 place, working towards a step 4 place, and happily enjoying that progress.
All right, so he's introduced something we haven't talked about today. We'll do it quickly. Step 1 is contrast causes you to ask. Step 2 is answered by your inner being and law of attraction and your vortex. Step 3 is you got to get in the receptive mode before you can receive the impulses. Step 3 is that. Step 4 is just mastering step 3. It's just getting really good at it. It's being able to get there really easily. And then step 5 may be our favorite step. Step 5 is where you are back in step 1 and it's okay with you, because you understand that the new asking is causing the new expansion, and because you now know how to focus yourself into alignment. So you're not bothered by having a question to which you don't know the answer, because you know the answer will come. You're not bothered by there being a problem to which you don't know the solution, because you know the solution will come. So you're eagerly back in step 1, putting more into the vortex, and you're not mad at yourself about it, because you know that you can meditate yourself right back into the receiving mode anytime you want to.
One of my favorite things that you said is help is on the way. That really works for me most of the time.
But if you stay in step 1, help's on the way, it just never really gets there.
Well, what my question was I had a hip replacement, which I'm really excited about, because one of the things in my vortex is greater health and getting more active. So I was feeling more step 4-ish before the hip surgery, and the pain that I had after the surgery, it was hard to not be in a bad place.
That's what we mean when we say then life comes at you. So then life is coming at you, and you're having your knee-jerk response to it, and that's normal. You can't do otherwise. You got to just say it's okay that I'm feeling what I'm feeling. But that's why we're saying that you can't get there from there. That's what our sales job about meditation is about, because especially when life is coming at you in a strong way to which you are having a lot of knee-jerk responses, you've got to give yourself the relief of alignment, and in time all of those resources will kick back into place, and you can get yourself back to where you want to be. The thing that trips so many of you up is that as life is coming at you, especially after you've played with this for a little while, and something happens to someone you care about, and therefore to you, and it's a condition that you couldn't control, and yet you're having a response to the condition, and now you're beating up on yourself for having a response to the condition. That's why step 5 matters so much, because of course you're having a response to this condition, because it isn't what you want. And you can't be blind. You can't just cease to exist. You can't just cease to perceive it. Of course you're going to have a response to it. But beating up on yourself for having the response, that just holds you endlessly in that turmoil, where if you can say, okay, so I don't like this, and what is it that I prefer? What would make it better? How could this situation be better? What would make it better? You put your question out there, and then the universe answers it. And when you stop beating up on yourself, you receive the impulses that do make it better. You see, earlier we threw in, just to tease you, to see if you'd bite, and some of you did, that the receptive mode is the replenishing mode, and that understanding that there is this vibrational reality that you're wanting to tune into, so that what's in it, vibrations, can come out where you can receive them, thoughts, impulses, words, and actions. So the vibrations turn into thoughts, and then the thoughts turn into the things. We want you to feel the progress of that. And we're talking about the satisfaction mode. When you're satisfied, you're getting ready to be ready, to be ready, to be ready. Getting ready to be ready, to be ready, to be ready. And whatever you're ready for has to be enough. But most humans, they don't want this to be enough because it's just vibrational. It's not manifested. It's not all that satisfying. They worry that if they're satisfied with this, then what they want really won't come, because they think that so often, humans, we love you so much, you think that as you're suffering and you're pleading that makes things come to you, because that's the way your mother treated you. You had to really plead a very needy case before she gave up the goods sometimes. And so she gave you a distorted view of the way the universe works. So when you realize that feeling satisfied now makes you ready to be more satisfied, which makes you ready to be more satisfied, which makes you ready to be more satisfied. But if you think that you need to make the jump all the way over here to have it all before you're satisfied, then you're not ever going to get there. And that's why we say happily ever after is satisfied, and then more satisfied, and then more satisfied. And every step along the way, there are more manifestations that are putting more in the vortex. Ooh, that's so important to realize. That's why you're not ever going to be completely satisfied, because you're not ever going to be at the end of your ability to receive more, because you are eternal. If you could ever reach the place where it was all done, Esther used to say to Jerry, why don't you buy me that pretty car? It would make me happy for the afternoon. And that wasn't too far from really what she meant, because it was a manifestation. Whoopee! Smells great, looks great, look how fast it goes. And then after a little while, it's just a way to get from one place to another again. Where if you're satisfied to be satisfied, to be satisfied, to be satisfied, then you're not banking on that thing that doesn't come all that often to sustain you longer than it is able to do. The manifestation was never meant to be what satisfies you. Ooh. You've been saying it in other ways. You've been saying the joy is in the journey. And that's what you mean. The manifestations have never meant to be what satisfies you. It's the new awareness of the new mix that your vortex is mixed up for you, and your new ability to receive it and have the new exposure to the new experience. Have you ever been in a space, Esther does it quite often in whatever space she's in, walking through a garden and noticing how different the garden looks, not just in different seasons, not just on different days, but even in different moments as the lights change, as the clouds move. Every moment is ripe with new awareness. And when you realize that you have source energy flowing to you and through you, and you're in the receptive mode, then you have this fuller moment. Some years ago, when Jerry and Esther first moved to San Antonio, Esther walked down to the gate to open it, and Jerry was coming with the car, and he didn't come right away, so she walked down and she was standing by the gate, and all of a sudden she realized that she was having like an altered state. The sky looked unlike it had ever looked to her. She had never seen the sky look like that. She didn't know what it was. It was almost like seeing northern lights, but there aren't any in the southern sky like that. She just stood in amazement as she took it all in, and then she could smell the fragrance of some blooming something that was so far away that she couldn't see it. She could only smell it. And the feeling of the wind on her skin and everything about her physical body was just enhanced oddly and in an extraordinary way. And then she said, oh, it's you, isn't it, Abraham? And we said, you've caught us again. Peeping through your eyes, smelling through your nose, feeling through your skin, hearing through your ears. When you get tuned in to who you really are, so that the whole of you is present in this moment, and this moment, and this moment, oh, the satisfactions of those moments, no matter what the conditions are, because your inner being knows how that condition produced this new desire, and that this new desire has the ability to be received by you, provided you are in the frequency where you can perceive it. You create your own reality, which means you translate your own reality into being, which means you perceive your own reality. That's why several people can be walking down the same street and be having very different experiences. So good.
So good.
Enough? Something more?
No, I'm just very excited